way basketball is played today in the NBA bears very little resemblance to the game we knew even 20 years ago. Back then, the mid-range shot was king, and the three-pointer was still considered a novelty. At the turn of the millennium, teams averaged 13.7 attempts per game from behind the arc and made 35.4%. As a better understanding of analytics took hold, the number of three-point attempts per game rose significantly, and in the last 5 seasons, the bombs have been increasing at exponential rates. But one of the fastest growing segments of three-pointers taken over the last 5 years is the early three in transition, taken when there are between 18 and 22 seconds on the clock. The frequency has jumped almost 10% in 5 years, while the percentage of makes has remained very steady. Of course, it makes sense that pushing the ball in transition should yield more open shots. But one problem we have is that players began feeling the freedom to shoot threes just for the sake of shooting threes. And if you're not one of the top shooters in the league, it leads to some really ugly shots. There are other factors to consider here. The rest of the team has to endure busting their butts down on offense only to see a teammate jack up a tough three that misses badly and could then lead to a fast break for the other team. Miss enough of these, and you can have a serious team chemistry problem. That said, there is no question that these early threes have benefited the offensive rating. For example, in 2010-11, NBA teams shot 35.8% from three on 18 attempts per game. Teams shot the same percentage from behind the arc in 2016-17, but raised the shots per game to 27. Even though the percentage is the exact same, the difference in the average team's points per possession is extremely profound, and it should tell you that simply shooting more threes is leading to higher efficiency offense. Let's look at how teams have shot when tightly guarded versus open. The frequency of shots when the defense is close has remained very steady the last 5 years, and so has the field goal percentage on those shots. Now, let's look at the frequency of open three-pointers teams are taking. It has risen in lockstep with the frequency of early shot clock threes. As the modern offense has evolved, teams overall have gotten better at generating open three-point shot attempts, which is good. That said, there is no evidence that players are improving their percentage on these shots. As the volume and pace go up, so does efficiency, but one would also assume that at some point, the players would start making more of their open shots. Another interesting area to study is where these threes are being generated. The corner three has the highest success rate, and not as much because it's shorter, but because almost all of them are catch and shoot, and the action required to get a shooter a good catch in the corner for a shot means they're more often than not open looks. What is interesting is that teams have been taking less and less corner threes over the last 6 seasons. 2 reasons account for this decline. 1, teams have been getting better at defending and not helping one pass away off the corner shooter. Defense like this tends to deter the shot in the first place. And the rise in early fast break three-pointers also means less possessions where the ball has time to find itself in the corner. Most of the early threes are above the break, where teams look for the first look rather than the best look. So what do all these numbers mean in the broader context? For one thing, this is not your father's NBA anymore. Expect the attempts from three to continue rising. But as defenses continue to adjust, it seems impossible to continue to see a rise in open three-point shots. The biggest worry I have is it all starts to resemble a pickup game, particularly when we get multiple misses from three in a row. In our next video, I'll examine how much better the elite shooting teams are doing compared to everyone else. While we have seen a general rise in efficiency on offense, is it more a function of personnel? Should we be emulating the teams that have Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Kevin Durant when you have Russell Westbrook, D'Angelo Russell, or Marcus Smart on your team taking a lot of threes at suboptimal percentages? Because more coaches are stressing getting threes up at the basket, we're starting to see a certain number of players each year take at least 4 triples a game but shoot less than 33% on them. If this number continues to grow, it could begin to reverse the efficiency gains the NBA has made over the last several years. With the enormous rise of quick threes taking hold in the NBA, I'll argue that at least 10% of these shots are not worth taking. And if we can get better shot selection in just this category, we'd see a bigger rise in efficiency and avoid the ragtag nature that many games fall into on occasion. We all know that won't happen, and it's cause for concern, since not only may we not recognize the game 10 years from now, we might also not enjoy it either.
Sports fans, for even more great NBA analysis, make sure to hit the subscribe button and, even more important, adjust your settings so you can get notified every time a new video drops. You in?